Welcome to the Ed and Millennial Show.
Yeah.
Today what we're going to do is we are going to change the engine oil on my new F350 6.7 liter diesel engine. It's a 2017 truck. I just got it a month and a half ago. It's got 5,000 miles on it. But I wanted to change the oil before it told me to change the oil, because that's when the most metals, that's when the engine is breaking in. And there's a lot of metal in the oil, so I wanted to do it beforehand. So anyway, so what we're going to do today is, like I said, we're going to change the oil. So over the last few days, what I've been doing is searching what type of oil to use. So if I go in my manual here, hang on a second. All right. In my manual, it is on page 433. And what it says, and this is for, there are several different engines in this manual, and this particular section is for the 6.7 liter diesel engine. So if I go to this, viscosity grades, 10W30 is normal usage, and normal usage for a heavy duty truck is normal usage, towing every now and then. If you are towing full-time or living somewhere like Alaska or something like that, you might want to check and use a different weight, because as you see, the 10W30 is recommended. Temperature ranges from 0 on up past 100 degrees. So anyway, the 10W30 normal usage oil, and I go back a few pages, and it says recommended oil, 10W30 Motorcraft Super Duty Diesel Motor Oil, 10W30. It is non-synthetic. It does not have a synthetic blend. So that's what Ford recommends. So what I did yesterday was I picked up some oil from the local Ford dealership. And always verify that you get what you're asking for, okay? Because you never know, something could have been boxed wrong or something like that. The engine calls for 13 quarts, but I got an extra quart because you never know, you might miss the funnel or something like that, and then say, oh crap, I don't have enough oil. How am I going to get more oil on a Sunday afternoon or whenever you choose? The other thing I did was, this the first time changing this oil on this particular vehicle, is yesterday I picked up an oil drain pan, and it was about $15 from AutoZone, and it is a 16 quart pan, and 13 quarts, it should have plenty of capacity, okay? It also has a little section here that you can set your oil filter, and kind of a big area, so when you pull the drain pan plug, it doesn't go all over your garage floor, your driveway, or what have you. Anyway, so that's where we're at. So I am going to slide the pan under. I have started the truck previously to let it warm up so that oil could flow out faster, a little bit better, and that's where we're at. Okay, we are now up underneath the truck, and I've been underneath many heavy-duty trucks, not Fords, but like Max and Internationals, and because by trade I'm a diesel mechanic, but this is the first time up underneath this truck. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull the drain plug, let the engine oil drain out, and then after that, I'm going to poke a hole in this filter, in the bottom of this filter, and let it drain out. The reason we do that is because if I pull it like it is, I'm going to get a lot of oil draining down here, and it's just going to make a bigger mess. So, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a socket, and I'm not sure what size this is, because like I said, it's the first time underneath this truck, but if I were to guess, it's probably metric. So, and it is a 16 millimeter. So what you do is, as you noticed, it didn't take a lot of force to undo that drain bolt. And keep that in mind when you're installing a bolt back in the pan. Do not over torque it. That's the worst thing you do is strip out your oil pan. All your oil will eventually leak out and you will destroy your engine in a matter of seconds. Alright, so we got our drain pan under here. What we need to do is don't forget to take the plug out, right? So we're going to undo this slowly. And what we can do so it doesn't shoot out at you, say like 2 or 3 feet, you just kind of open it up and hold it there until it drains some out. Keep in mind there is 13 quarts of oil coming out of here, so it may take a bit. Biggest thing is don't get in a hurry. Be patient. As a mechanic for many years, that is one of the best traits that you can have, is to be patient. Okay, you can cut. Okay, we have got our oil drained out. What you want to do is wipe that area to get any grit or dirt away from it. Also, you want to wipe the drain plug. And if you noticed, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a O-ring on this drain plug that seals against this area right here. So you just want to make sure that both surfaces are clean. Okay, so put your drain plug back in. Okay, finger tight. And then what you want to do is just snug it. Okay, you can feel that that is about as far as you can push it with your thumb, right? I do not have a torque wrench with me, but if you want to, just give it a little snug is all you need to give it. You don't need to crank on it because you will strip it out. But so that is that. The next thing that we want to do is we want to poke a hole in the bottom of this to drain it out. So like I said before, we don't get our hands full of oil with all this oil draining down the sides. So let's see if we can just poke a small hole. Okay, and just like the regular drain plug, we're going to let that drain for a bit. Alright, like I said previously, this is the motor oil that Ford recommends at the local dealerships here in Louisville. In fact, I'm being told this is the same engine oil that they put in at the heavy duty truck factory here where the trucks are made. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this oil filter for installation. So how do we do that is, and just notice on the box it says after contact of the gasket here, turn an additional 3/4 to 1 inch revolutions. So anyway, what you do to prep the filter is turn it upside down, okay, so it's stable and it doesn't fall over. But let me back up a step. Before we do that, I just want to put a mark anywhere on the bottom of this filter. And what this reference mark is while we're underneath and we're turning it with our fingers just to make contact, and we see where the reference mark is, we will know how much to turn it, whether it's 3/4 or 1 complete revolution. Either would be fine. So what we're going to do now is we are going to prime this filter. And the reason that we prime the filter is when the engine first starts up, runs through the filter here, and if there is not oil in this filter, there is still a second or two that the engine is starving for oil. And we do not want our engine starving for oil whatsoever. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take one of these little small guys here, open it up, and pour it in. Okay, we'll let that drain down a little bit. We'll pour a little more in there. Let that drain down. Okay, that continues to drain. And like I said before, one thing about being a mechanic is you have to be patient. Okay? So we'll let that drain a little more, put a little more in there. Okay, I think we're about ready. And now it almost took a complete quart here. So what we want to do next is we want to lube this rubber gasket here. So take a little bit of this oil and just spread it around this gasket. Cut. Cut. Okay, we're back underneath the vehicle here. We have our primed oil filter filled with oil. Be careful that you don't knock any dirt in this in the top of this filter. And I've got an oil filter socket here that I bought at the local parts store, but usually works pretty well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to unscrew this filter. Alright, we could have let that drain a little bit more and we wouldn't have got this oil on us, but anyway, one thing to check is to make sure that the gasket is removed as well, because sometimes as you just witnessed that the gasket stayed on there. If you do not catch that and it's left on there, it will blow out when you start it and you will lose your oil quickly. So we're going to sit there and we're going to wait and let that drain a little bit and go on to the next step. Cut. Okay, after the oil has all dripped out, what you want to do is you want to take a rag that doesn't have any grit on it, a clean rag, and wipe that mating surface off where the gasket is going to make contact. Okay, that's right in that area right there. Okay, now we can take our filter. Hold it with two hands. Do not spin it, because then you might spin some of the oil out of it. Okay, we have made contact, and a reference mark is right there that we previously put on or marked with the permanent marker. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn one complete revolution. And most of the time you can do that by hand. Alright, I got 3/4 of a turn there. So what I want to do is I want to go one complete revolution. So I am going to put my tool back on there. And turn it an additional 1/4. Okay. That is one complete revolution. Wipe the filter down all around the edge. All right, folks. Make sure your drain plug is snug. Make sure your filter is on there and it's all wiped down. And we are done underneath. All right. The other thing that you want to make sure that you have, and you can get at the local parts store, is a funnel. Some type of funnels help you get the oil inside the spout there on the left side of the engine. And when I say left side, it means driver's side. As you're sitting in the seat is how you reference left or right. But anyway, you want to make sure that you wipe down your funnel, because you don't want all this dirt and everything else going inside your engine, right? So we'll wipe it down and we'll meet you on the underneath the hood. Okay, we are under the hood of our 2017 F350 with a 6.7 liter diesel. Getting ready to put the oil back in the engine. So what we want to do is we want to unscrew the cap, and I always wipe the dirt away from this cap, away from the O-ring where it seals, as well as that entire area. Okay, being careful not to knock any dirt down in the hole. Okay, we got our funnel. It's clean. It's been wiped out. Okay. And what we're going to do is I'm going to install 12.5 quarts of oil, and then I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to check it. The crankcase calls for 13 quarts, but that 13 quarts is if the engine is totally bone dry. There are some crevices inside the engine, and so we can't get exactly every drop of oil out of the engine. Okay, so I'm going to start with 12.5, start it, turn it off, let it drain back down in the drain pan, give it some time, and then we're going to check the level and then add accordingly. Important, as you cut this little thing, make sure that none of this little tin foil gets back down inside of the jug, which will end up inside your engine, which could block a galley and starve your engine from oil in a particular area. Okay, getting ready to put our second jug. There's 5 quarts in each one of these jugs. Getting ready to put our second jug in. Okay, so far we have put a total of 11 quarts in. That is 2 of these and the initial quart that we put in the oil filter itself. That is 12 quarts, and like I said, we're going to stop at about 12 and a half, and we'll check the engine oil and start her up and let it idle for a bit, and then we're going to turn it off, let it drain back down, and recheck it and add accordingly. Okay, we put 12 and a half quarts of oil in. I just want to verify that there is oil in the pan before I start it. So pull your dipstick, wipe it off clean, reinsert it fully, wait 3 or 4 seconds, and then pull it out slowly. Yes, and as you can see, there is oil in the hatch marks there. So we're going to reinstall it and start it up and let it idle. Okay, we have started it. We're letting it idle. Keeping my eye on the engine oil pressure gauge, which is all the way to the left. We'll let it idle here a minute. But in the meantime, what we can do is go to Settings, Advanced Settings, My Vehicle, All Life Reset, hit OK, and then hold OK to reset. Okay, reset complete. And this will reset the engine oil indicator to let you know when to change the oil. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes for the oil since we first cut the engine off. We are going to pull the dipstick. We're going to clean the end of it and insert it back in the tube slowly until it's fully seated. Wait a few seconds, pull it back out slowly, and read where it's at. If you notice, it is 3/4 of the way up the hatch mark, which lets me know it's a little low. It's still within the operating range, but it's a little low. So what I'm going to do is install the rest of that quart, which would put me right at 13 quarts, and we'll be done. All right, we have installed a total of 13 quarts. Which will put us exactly at the top of the hatch marks. One thing to note is to make sure that your environment around you, you're not blowing a lot of dirt or things are blowing in the air, which could blow in inside your engine while you had the plug off, or you had the oil filter removed, or what have you. Just be aware of your environment. That's all. Okay, well that concludes our engine oil change on a 2017 F350 Ford 6.7 liter diesel engine. One final note, I don't know if I did mention it, but make sure you're on a level surface. It makes a difference. Okay, one final tip. After you've had it running, you want to always come back underneath and make sure that my oil filter has not leaked anywhere, or the drain plug, or just make sure that you don't have any leaks anywhere. And also, I mentioned make sure you're on a level surface, and if you're not, like my driveway is a little off, so what I did was I just took a paver block or what have you, just make sure it's safe, but just to level the vehicle, because if the pan is not level, then your reading off your dipstick is not going to be correct. Alright, this concludes the engine oil change on a 2017 F350 6.7 liter diesel engine. Hopefully I taught my millennial something about changing the engine oil on practically any type of automobile. It's the same principle, but hopefully I taught him something, and hope you guys found the video useful. Thanks. See that right there?
What you got there?
That's a sandwich right there.
What you got in there?
Mayonnaise and bananas.
Uh-huh.
That's a sandwich. It is.